Hello and willkommen back to the, big appreciation stream now, because they just took the first map, Inferno, off Heroic. Now we are going on to Dust 2, which is, in Counter-Strike terms, the homeland for the Germans. This is where they play their best CS. On the opposite side of things. This is a map where, before they won 16-5 over North, they had a 6-map loss streak on this one, Heroic. So this is definitely a big, pun intended, advantage for the Germans.
I was about to say, how are you feeling about your Heroic prediction?
Oh, I asked you if I could change it to a 2-0 early on. So I expected that change came in through, and that's why I'm on the big side now. I'm on the train now.
Oh, okay. So
Deutsche Bahn all the way through.
You've betrayed your comrades.
Of course.
You've joined the Germans. Yeah, okay.
Of course.
I dig it. I think at this point, it's going to take a pretty incredible performance from Heroic to turn this one around. But at the same time, you look at stuff like Cadian's Instagram stories. They've been sent videos from Hunden to watch. I think they would have known that Dust 2 was coming. So they should be very well prepared for this. It's just whether or not that's enough. Because even individually, Big can be tough to break down. Keto looking to try and lock this site. I don't know how he's still alive. He's lasted far longer than expected. How is he still at the back of the site? It doesn't matter. Eventually, it's the trades out, and it's still Heroic that have got themselves an advantage. Make that an even bigger one as the rotation is caught by Cadian. Tizian does save a few extra seconds on that bomb plant, but they've now spotted where Searson is, and one of the many kings of Dust 2, they're going to A. I'm surprised. It gives the 1v1 duel. If he wins this, I think he actually has a better possibility of winning the round, but unfortunately he won't. Cadian is going to get the double, holding off rotations all the way through, and the bomb eventually goes down on the A site.
Yeah, and they get a pistol round to go, which is actually quite interesting because I found a stat line for Inferno, and even though Inferno is a map that Heroic they play a lot, they only have a 40% win percentage on pistol rounds. On most of the other maps, it's actually quite fine. So Heroic winning their first pistol round in this matchup here on this map is actually playing just in line with the statistics. So let's wait and see if they can maybe get 2 pistol rounds on Dust 2. They lost both pistol rounds on Inferno. This is the push towards B. Bro coming in, Mac pin in hand. How is Keto still alive? Once again.
2 rounds in a row. He's a survivor. And because of that, he's actually going to get a second kill with the scout. He spotted Nico on the other side, and he's still standing. It's left all onto Cadian. A scout versus 2 scouts. Well, make that just 1 scout, but there's also a lone Tabson in the mix with a P250. Force Spy going very well indeed, but he's going to try and reevaluate his situation, maybe see if there's any other weaponry. The problem is every single member of Heroic, excluding him, has died within the B site. So all the weaponry's now fallen into enemy hands. Tabson has even picked up an AK-47, and while he's not quite going to hit that first shot, leaving just 29 HP. Plenty of time, but unfortunately it isn't going to work out. And yeah, someone, I think maybe Keto's wearing one of those like heavy suits that you can get during some of the missions, because he just seems to just tank those bullets.
Yeah, I was about to say this is the good old standard Danish second round call when you win the pistol. Buy Mac 10s, rush B. The great idea with that strategy is that you have to get into the site very quickly, and that's the one thing they didn't manage to do, because on the side was Keto. He was just allowed to stand there with a scout, mid to long range shots. Can't really do anything against them, so that was kind of it wasn't really that good of a round for Heroic, both individually and as a team. Big were allowed to answer. Now they have long control though, so one of the things that is usually fought for almost minutes on this map, the long control has now been given. They're kind of trying to see if they can get some damage done towards the terrorists, down in towards Pit, and there's in my opinion, the best scout player in the world. They're just gonna lock this T side down.
Yeah, he's making it difficult. There have been a couple of tags connected by Cadian on the other side, though, so there's at least a possibility to do some damage. The problem is all the rifles are still standing, and that's definitely going to make things tougher for Heroic. Also, you mentioned like they finally get themselves a pistol round win, and then they lose the second round. So it's, if anything, an even worse scenario than they would have been if they just lost the pistol and got to fight back a little bit later on. And well, an eventual cleanup. 4 players surviving, still keeping all their rifles forward, and of course a scout on system, which we've already mentioned is not really much of a detriment. More worryingly, Heroic can't invest anything into this round.
Actually, kind of to follow on with the trend of only winning 40% of their pistol rounds on Inferno, I just found the stats. They've played 24 pistol rounds on Dust 2 Heroic, and they've only won 6 of them. that's 25% pistol round wins. That's insanely low.
Yeah, that's rough. Like most teams, you'll see them either a little bit above or a little bit below 50%.
45, 55-ish.
It's not really anything impressive most of the time. If a team is winning a hell of a lot of pistol rounds, then you're expecting them to be playing, I guess, lesser teams. But yeah, that's gross. I never want to hear that stat ever mentioned again because it makes me feel a little bit ill. Of course, this round, kind of irrelevant. Like, this is just a chance for Big to really make some extra money, and that's the scary prospect. Like, you go into this map knowing that you firstly have to have a good T side, you also have to win it, and you've lost that second round and just given a hell of a lot of economy over. Yeah. He just basically reloaded next to his opponent. That is a big balls play. Just like, I don't even care if you're there. I'll just reload next to you.
Oh well, 3-1 will be the scoreline, and this is a chance for Heroic to bounce back. They now have the full buy round. They have no AWP, but they have almost all the utility they need. 4 rifles. They need to get something done here. They absolutely do. They try to take long control again. It worked out in the early beginning of the round, but Centaurus is there once again. Straight through the smoke will take him out. It's down with 1, and he has an idea that Tessian is sitting behind the smoke. Calls that. Teslas grabs the frag.
Yeah, nice start. Long control again, gathered.
Yeah, exactly. Same model as last round.
See on the other side, Big are just slowly clearing out other portions of the map. They've got to be a little bit careful because Cadian is waiting. He's spotted out. Both players taking an even trade, and Cadian, he hasn't actually given himself much space to escape. The fact is, though, all that really does is know for Tabson that he's going to have a player behind him, which makes things a little bit more awkward. And in fact, the remainder of the team might actually rotate in to go and meet up with Cadian.
Oh, the timing however, here. Oh, it's so unfortunate.
He might get a kill for free, and he does. 7 HP, though, a trade maybe not being available, and you can already spot, because of that rotation, they're going to put more players on the B side.
Yeah, but they're only going to have 1, because he spotted the last player rotating from long, so he probably has no... He has a clue that they could be towards B, but he has no idea they're this far in. So they actually focus towards the A side right now. They think this could maybe be a short play, and... What is this from Heroic? They're going lower. With 23 seconds to go. This is some big brain stuff. Like...
This could work.
Wow, okay, yeah, Cadian.
Rotation to throw the smoke into mid. There's nobody on there anymore. So there's going to be an incendiary down. They'll smoke it. Nice shot onto Cadian. The bomb's going to go down in the nick of time. 3.5 seconds to plant. So they'll have just over a second left on the clock. Even still, though, it's a bit awkward. And Tabson, well, I was going to say he's still alive and kicking. The jump down. Not going to spot anybody out. Now both players coming in from short as the retake commences. Hito finds that first down, looking to try and catch his head as he crushes, but instead, with only 19 HP, he's left in a really awkward position for this bomb, and it's just being diffused in front of him. He gets the kill eventually onto Hito, but it doesn't matter. Big will take the round home. Probably one of the weirdest rounds I've seen in a long time, with all the rotations and pushes from either side, but I don't think the Germans are going to care now that they've won it.
No, they're definitely very happy going up 4-1 on the CT side of their favorite map, so they're not going to have any complaints on this one. Also, to mention is that Big are a stellar T-side team on this map. They win 57%, almost 58% of their rounds on the T side of this map. So them already leading now on the CT side of things is perfect. That's just what they wanted.
Oh, it's still going to be an investment here. There was a bomb plant, and the loss bonus is now building up for the side of Heroic. It does mean that Barup is going to be down to a Mac 10, and there isn't an AWP to face off against the 2 that are on the other side. Mid-control almost completely abandoned, though. It's just this passive spot being held by Tabson, but it does give him a very quick rotation available, and even has support from Searson if they do go there. This smoke, obviously the classic for when you are going to go for an A-short play, but for now, just being thrown out as a little bit of a fake to try and hold some players there for the side of Big.
Tessian once more. Left almost to his own devices in long. Can get the backup he needs, if he is a flashbang or sees a smoke, then Stirson will be ready to back up. And they have a secondary player on the A-bomb side as well. But for now, he'll have to take the first duel all on his own. And now he'll call for the backup, but it might be too late. He's burning up. If you can just get one frag here, that'll be perfect. He's buying time, so it's working out for him right now, but losing some HP. And yeah, good angle for Stirson. This is working out. Tizian is actually playing this very well. He does die in the end, but I feel like the round is almost but decided. Very nice play from Tizian there. Once again, like, we see him get one frag. It's not a lot, but he buys so much time. He gives crucial information. And that's one of the reasons why that you should never just look at the scoreboard for a player and see, okay, he's on 15 frags. He's having a bad game. In this round here, Tizian got like 3 or 4 of the frags actually done. He didn't get them on the scoreboard, but he was the one giving the information and buying the time.
But that's the thing. He knows as well that for them to wide peek him, they have to cross the AWP angle. And even they realize it towards the end, using one of their smokes to try and like actually catch off that angle. A switch up in positioning though. Stirson maybe having a slightly poorer spawn, so he's gone towards the B side. I like the fact that they have this dynamic of basically just being able to play stuff on a whim. I think that's what a lot of teams do on Dust 2. I think it's the most common map for those aggressive plays, especially on the T side. But to see the CT side double AWP almost just be happy to go, okay, we'll switch for this round just because you can get there first.
Once again, Deagles. Heroic. 4 flashbangs, so they can chain flash their way over towards the A-bomb side if there was an AWP. And there is in Keto. Let's see how they place them. First one is good. Secondary is not well timed, but he missed the shot. Third one will take him out, so that's perfect. Nice chain flash setup. Tapson, they'll have to push him straight up. They'll just have to run through the Molotov. Tapson doesn't care. He does not care.
Oh, this is what we like to see from Tabson, just slaughtering them as they push into the site. Obviously, we saw the HLTV article recently that he basically said that for him to play well, he needs to be playing within like an almost family setup.
Yeah.
And how this squad has almost helped him to perform to the highest of his ability. And it has been a pleasure to watch. Those sort of rounds, those multi-frags are something we've become almost accustomed to. I think we're spoiled for choice within this team of who can actually step up at the right time. Of course, this is what we talk about being Stirson's playground. But so far, well, we're actually looking at Zontaras and Tabson just fragging out. Hasn't had too much to do on the AWP. But at least we now do have a buy again on the board, Risk. And this is with everything they would desire. The AWP back onto Cadian, who we saw on day one having a crazy game. I think he ended like almost plus 30, I think he said. It was like 27, 28. Yeah. An incredible game. So he needs to pull that out now. If they're going to win Dust 2, Cadian needs to be on the board.
Yeah. To be honest, I think everyone needs to step up from Heroic, from what we've seen so far from Dust 2. But yeah, Cadian would be a very good candidate based on what we've seen so far from them in this tournament. Tessus start things off, and once again Tizian comes under pressure. We'll rotate away. Once again, the disciplined move here, the correct move, is to rotate away and wait for the retake with your teammates. Don't try to force a duel where you're 1 against 2, 1 against 3, and they have an advantage. They might even be able to catch down off here. That's very nicely done. And now I have to pressure long so that Centaurus will get some space after the smoke clears. This has to be the play. They have 4 kits. They can go for it still, but now it becomes hard. Great shot from Cadian. Smoke off. Now they have to decide if they want to go or if they want to stay and play defensive and save their weapons. And it's going to be a call to save, I think, here. That has to be the call.
Yeah, it looks like they're trying to hold the remaining players in for the exits. I think Zontaras has heard them all dropping down. They would have heard him as well, though. And Cadian's just watching this angle. It's only if they try and push any further than this, and they don't, well, most of them don't need to. Barak clearly did as he dies to the bomb. But it's a worthwhile trade. Zontaras will fall. And the money is not awful for the other side of things, but it's actually not that great considering how far up they are.
It's been a while since I've seen like 4 players saving a CT spawn with a bomb planted on A. I have to say. It's been a while. Nice to see. And as you say, money for both teams is kind of awkward. For Heroic, yes, they have a lot, but Nico and Borov is kind of low. And for the big side, no one really has anything apart from Stirson. So this could be, once again, a swing round. If Big gets this, they'll be even to build an even bigger lead. If Heroic gets this, they'll be able to kind of take the game back and get close to evening things up.
And that's something we saw in the last map. It was, well, I think an 8-3 scoreline, something along those lines for Big, and then it was a streak of rounds to end the half 8-7 for Heroic. So they definitely can do it. They've already done it once. At the same time, though, even 6 rounds on the CT side for Big is enough. Like we've seen their T side be incredible.
That's
on
the
this
thing,
map,
right?
so.
Like the second that they get 8 rounds or above, usually Dust 2 is over. Like if they get 8 rounds or more in CT, Dust 2 is over. Like it becomes so hard to play against the T side when they have that confidence, when they have that momentum. So Heroic, they need to get like going now. They need to get something rolling.
Yeah, and the worry is looking at the current setup from Big, they are ready for any sort of short play. They have 3 players around this angle, Tizian with the ability to just switch back whenever they need, and they're actually going to go pushing what looks like into the stack. It's a very good position from Tabson, another multi-frag. They've fallen for the trap of the Germans, and now Cadian's there to try and fix an impossible scenario. We spoke about how their CT side of Inferno seemed like they had the right reads the majority of the time, and it has been seen once again. They were more than ready for that push.
One little detail that I love is the underhand smoke they throw onto short, the CT team, with 37 seconds to go. That's a secondary smoke, and they create this wall of smokes for, well, 40 seconds in a row almost. So when that smoke fades, there'll be very, very little time left to see what Heroics wants to do, and they decide to push through the smoke anyway, end up dying 2 players. That's a nice entry from Tessus. But I have to say that smoke last round, that was a nice little detail. Searson, 1 for 1. Tessus continues. Might even get a third here.
A risky peek.
Yeah.
Tabson just wide faces out, and well, there's an AWP waiting. That was so fast from Keto that I don't even think Tessus had the chance to react. And with the bomb
Nico's
down,
on B.
Yeah, this like it would be great if they still had control, but unfortunately they don't. Sound just waiting in the corner. It's going to be predicted by Zontares, and again, even with an M4, I think he's favored in most duels. It's left all onto Nico. Now he does have time to play with, but well, even just watching his POV, I think even he knows this is going to be a rough one.
Yeah, this is. He has to almost pre-aim and pre-fire the guy holding his angle, which is Zontares, a guy who's notoriously known for his strong aim. Yeah, this is not happening.
I don't think it mattered which direction he was looking as he walked out. If a bullet hits you the second you round the corner, it makes absolutely no difference. And well, that's now a big problem because you look at Heroic's economy, it's not in a good place. Like, okay, sure, you have a couple of players that can purchase, but you don't have enough for the AWP. So chances are you have to go for a pistol round. And again, like we talk about how their long control has actually been pretty good. I think the battle for long has actually gone their way more often than not, except for maybe the round where Tizian manages just to delay them long enough. And even if you talk about duels, they still won most of the duels. It was just they ran out of time. So the problem is clearly once they either get towards the site or just the fact that they're getting slowed down. And again, that's something that I feel like you can't give over to Big. If you're winning those duels, you then need to do something to capitalize on them. And it seemed like initially they had, which was Nico taking the B site. The problem is the rest of the team was still battling in positions, and then the bomb gets dropped in a spot where, well, you can't flee at that point.
Yeah, and once again, they're trying towards the long area. Smoke on the corner. And to deny that one, Bob just goes out with the MP5. Okay. Tizian is close range, doesn't care. Just grabs the frag, and the train continues rolling onto the A bomb site. Searson is there. There's no chain flash setup this time around, so Searson. This is dog hunting for him right now. He won't even have to get any frags because Tabson just goes aggressive. Like, there's no way you can, with a full eco like that or deagle eco like that, get anywhere near the site when they have Tabson with an M4, Searson with the AWP, and you have no chain flash setup. It's simply not happening.
Well, what was the ADR we were looking at? I think it was on Mirage. It was something like 180 something for Zontares. I think Tabson has seen that number and is looking to try and challenge it, as he's on over 170 ADR at the moment, 11 rounds into the game.
How is that even possible?
Killing everyone.
Still early days, but like, that is insane. That's an insane amount of damage. Tessus will grab once again, but it's... Let's see. Tizian maybe get some information here. Keto in the middle of the smoke. Who'll catch who first? Keto. Oh no, it's down. Keto was completely flashed. And now this is going to be a heroic round. Very, very confusing, but a round for the Danes nonetheless. And they probably don't even themselves understand exactly how that went down, but they'll take it.
Yeah, it was very, very scrappy. I think that's the best way to put it. And, well, for the Big, this will be the remainder of their economy going wild. As said, though, 9 rounds on the CT side for Big. It's going to be a rough second half no matter what the case is here. But if at least Heroic can win this round, you're looking at no real economy left for Big. And then there's a chance for at least 6. And that's a much better scenario than we're currently looking at. Cadian as well. He actually gets leg. I thought it would have been the other way around, but he's tagged up by that second drill. That's one of the main reasons Big don't have this economy is because of how pricey their setup has been. And funnily enough, it's actually been the 2 AWPers that have been a little bit underwhelming so far. Not necessarily through their own fault. We've seen a few missed shots here and there for Searson, but also just because Zontara is alongside.
Oh, wow.
I was going to say alongside Tabson, but I can't even finish the sentence before he gets a multi-frag. In the meantime, the push is going to come into long, but Searson's ready for this. He's just waiting on the corner. And Barup, but where do you even go? Like, where do you go at this point?
It's so funny because they were obviously trying to do something fake towards B. But the second that all the B players are dying and they're advancing towards long, there's a player on the corner and there's a rotation 2 seconds away. Like, there's nothing you can do in this situation if you're Heroic. Fantaras, of course, always nice. You just start with 2 spray shots through the smoke. And remember the reason...
Dane.
Yeah, the reason why he actually started to spam that smoke was because the Danes started firing behind it with their AKs. If they had done nothing, he probably wouldn't even have shot there. So, yeah, interesting. Fantaras once again. Actually, only takes 1, but Bob is ready and waiting with the refrag. It's going to be a 1-for-1 trade.
Meantime, a battle for long. It's not been the best game for Nico, but I guess you could say that for the majority of the members of this Heroic side. And unfortunately, the man who has been able to get them a fair few entries, Tesses, is actually the first to fall. So losing a pivotal member of this Heroic roster, and they just fall back into a more passive position. I think they've realized that there's a lot of aggression coming out. The timing on that cross actually might benefit Cadian, as the repeat from Tamsin is a much easier shot to hit. They're about to go walk into, though, the majority of Big players. Searson locking down the angle. And as said, he's been a little bit quiet so far. But at the same time, I'm in no doubt that he could just take this round away from them.
Searson ready and waiting. Completely flashed. Good assist from Borup. Maybe a second away from the pre-fire through the flashbang, but doesn't matter. Cadian will get it. Tizian, though, once more with a very important frag. Keto onto Stown. And 2v2. Where's the fake smoke gonna go? It's actually gonna be the CT smoke that you can throw from long. And it's actually not gonna be a complete fake. This is not to sell something. This is actually to go through mid. And Keto has read this like a book. Cadian can't dance around the corner. 3 frags from Keto. 11-3.
Yeah, there's a part of me that almost thinks that the Heroic might need to be a little bit more direct. Like they're like every single round where it seems to come down to a clutch situation, there seems to be a really elaborate strategy. Like that was a 3 versus 2 there, and one player goes mid, the other 2 go long. Then someone else, oh dear Lord, Cadian. It's just been owned. It's called suicide for a reason. Yeah. And well, Keto, he's looking to try and style on them. He was also having a bit of a quieter game with the second AWP, but
not anymore.
Last couple of rounds, oh dear. That's not what you want to see if you're a Heroic fan. He's just looking to try and close this round out all on his own, but he's got some support from Searson as well. Just Testes and Nico remaining. Make that just Nico. He's waiting over towards long, just trying to work out if there's anybody here. He at least gets the kill onto Tizian, but that should be it as the peak comes out from Tabs, and he wanted that extra kill. A 12-3 half for Big. Absolute domination on the CT side. They need just 4 to close this out and make it to the playoffs. We'll see if they can after the break.
Welcome back to Germany's headquarters, which is currently D. Dust 2. Big are absolutely smashing Heroic in this one. And it's going to be a rough time for Heroic to come back. And Big are already now looking towards to go into the B-bomb side, whereas Down is
Cadian.
sitting. Cadian is in lower tunnels, so he could maybe come in with something exciting here. But if I know Big correctly, they will always have a guy watching lower tunnels. That's Keto in this scenario. It's going to be a B execute, but a quick rotation from Heroic. Who'll get there first?
The smoke falls, but it's actually going to be Nico getting the kill through it. Not a bad start whatsoever, but even still, a 4v5 afterpart is not easy. And well, 304 make it just through. They're getting slaughtered. Back and forth we go. Tizian now left in the clutch, only 10 HP. Everybody felt in a second, and well, Cadian's more than aware. An important pistol round, but a bomb plant nonetheless for Big. And I'll be interested to see how much they're actually going to invest into this next round.
Yeah, Cadian heard what you said before we went to the break, Tom, and he was like, okay, I have to get something done now. He stopped things up, 3-kill pistol round. I actually thought they had that Big when they got those like 3 frags in a row. But then Heroic just smashed into the side and cleared it all out. 4-12.
Oh, we are going to be seeing an investment. I assume that scout is going to go over to Searson. Yeah, that makes a little bit more sense. And Keto, well, we've already seen a few multi-frags from him on a rifle, so you can see Heroic's purchase as well. There's actually a very, very safe one. 1 SMG, a scout, and then the rest is all rifles. It does leave them a little bit low on utility, but on a map like Dust 2, you can get away with that, especially with some of the battles that you're going to be taking. It's only really the B site that can have some vulnerabilities, and that's why you have Tessus there with the SMG and, well, what was a few extra grenades. This aggressive, though, it's on Taras, in fact, with the Deagle, who's actually going to get that pick, and the timing couldn't be better for Tizian. It leaves Cadian again. He's got everything to do. He got 3 in the last round. He's managed 1 so far, and he's actually forced them back in the other direction. And Tessus is going to be in a prime position to deny any further pushes. That's the bomb down. A peek coming back in. So Antares has found a rifle, but it's down. 2 quick kills, almost burnt to death. And Tabson, he'll be dunked out as well.
That's a nice nade to finish things off. Very nicely done holding down the fort in CT. And Cadian with the scout as well. It's going to be a full eco now for Big. Maybe some deagles, maybe some P250 Tech 9-ish stuff invested into this one. But it's going to be the next round they're looking at. That's going to be where their focus is lying. Keto buying down to 800. I'm not sure if I like it, but let's wait and see. It's going to be just a B play. It's just going to be taking a big chunk of damage from the nade. Down is here, ready and waiting. Has his teammate Teslas in the corner as well. They're getting completely knocked down.
I guess they assumed with how much they have that they'd be able to get a bomb plant. I guess for him, it just means he doesn't have any grenades and will probably just buy into a straight up rifle. Which,
yeah, potentially just entry. And then
I think that's what it will be. Like, maybe he was just hoping for some sort of long spawn. Worst case, yeah, he drops down to a Galil and that it's not really the end of the world. But yeah, I kind of get what you mean. I think they were fairly focused on just him getting a bomb plant and tanking a lot of the damage.
Yes, he's quickly out towards long. Might be able to catch Bob off guard if they get a secondary flashbang. He actually has no... It's going to be Tabson who can give him backup, but there's no smoke, there's no flashbangs from Tabson. He only has that 1 Molotov. So they're just leaving Sisson for now. All alone. Will die. Double smoke CT.
From their perspective, they've managed to commit a few extra players to long. So the idea is just, okay, they're focusing on long, they're focusing on Searson. In that time, let's try and take B. The problem is the counter utility that has come out from Heroic has actually delayed a lot. So now the push starts coming back through in the other direction, and they're somewhat sandwiched. As is Tessus, though, and Tizian actually peeks out aggressively into mid. There's the trade. Tabson should have this kill, and eventually does, but it still ends up in a 1 versus 1. And he spotted out Cadian, who has now retrieved the rifle and just about takes it home. 14 HP. These last few rounds have been close, but still, Heroic are grinding things back.
All right. We might have something here for Heroic. Slight chance. Still behind with 5 rounds, of course, and they are getting some economy behind them. Big will once more have some deagles, some utility. but their eyes are on the next round. Head armor on Tapson, so look out for him. He'll be dangerous. Tizian out towards long. Will actually get a frag, but instant refrag coming out from Borup. Tapson shot down there. Oh, Cadian double in mid. A third one coming up as well, but that's Tito. Always watch out for that Deagle. Dangerous.
Going for a knife kill.
Yeah.
That's what it looked like. Maybe he just caught on the timing. Didn't expect anybody to be down there. Tito, though, small chance of a bomb plant. Borup is going to be waiting on the site. And in fact, I like this. He's just playing this hidden. He's almost just trying to fake him out and make him believe there's no one there. No chance of him messing up that duel. 12 to 8.
Yeah, we need to get Season going now. He's 9 to 11 with 1 assist, so not the best of score lines here. We need to get him started. 4 AKs around him. Tapson has been very good so far and does still the same as Keto. We need to get this guy rolling as well. Corner smoke towards short.
Okay.
Has landed. Jump. Peek towards mid. So they're going to go for some short control to begin with here, Big. Could end up with either a split B or a split A, depending on how you want to utilize CT spawn.
Well, that's the thing at the moment. There is no one on A. They're both over towards long. It's going to be KD and combining with Borup, and does give a potential avenue. There's also 3 players in the B side, so any push in that direction would be pretty much impossible. Obviously, the A side a lot easier to retake. We talk about the B side of Dust 2, even with the new doors being one of the toughest sites in the game to retake. For that reason, Zontara is probably just trying to sell a little bit of an elaborate ruse. He's got a Molotov in hand, but if he throws it down now, I think they're going to be... Well, it's going to be fairly obvious that no one's pushing in this direction. However, they are actually going to be pressuring into middle, and this is looking like a pretty good read from Heroic.
There are still 3 guys on that B bomb side, or 2 guys in the side and 1 in a quick rotation. Nice Molotov timing here. Tessus rotates down. And when the Big decide that this is not the play, but actually they're going to straight up go for it. Flash timing is perfect. Tessus gets a double. Nico holding down mid. Can they trade their way into this bomb site? Tapson also denied. Searson finally getting things going. Can he get the secondary as well? Yes. 1v1 now. Searson versus Borup, missing the shot.
Looking like he would nail that one, but he has brought it into a clutch situation. Borup trying to rotate through. Now, the last few clutches have all gone the way of Heroic, and Borup is actually waiting patiently in middle. He expects this aggression, and he's got it spot on, and he gets the shot as well. Again, these rounds are very close to a Big, but Heroic are clinging on and leaves just 3 rounds the distance. Bear in mind, this was a 12-3 half, so it is now 6 in a row for the Danes.
That is a next level mind game from Borup. Like, he's just waiting. He's just waiting down there, holding the angle for some reason, knowing that Season will push him and will choose a duel that's disadvantages to his own self. That's some next level stuff. I'm not quite sure how it worked out, but yeah.
Who knows?
4-1 split for Heroic. Long control is the focus. But it's actually going to be a B play if we look at the bomb on the back of Tizian, rotating towards those tunnels.
I think if you're Big, you probably realize that, okay, that round they definitely had some sort of stack towards the B site. And Heroic, they're a team to be dynamic. They're not going to be doing the same thing twice. So there's actually the majority of their players currently in mid, which is, well, pretty much 4 players around that angle. The smoke's being thrown over. I think one of them's missed by the looks of it on the map. It's actually landed outside the map, which I'm not sure if that was the attempt, but now it's left with the testers. Oh dear. Spacebar jump gang wins again, as he's going to mess that one up, and now it's going to be the B site completely under the control. Borup, I think he was waiting for a flash, but the flash is yet to be thrown out, and in fact, it's not a flash, it's an HG.
And just as Heroic thought they were going to get back in the game, Big grabs another chunk, another bite out of them. 13 rounds on the board, 4 rounds in the lead, and 3 rounds away from Big from winning this series and going straight to the semifinals.
Yeah, this ties in, though, to something that we've been mentioning, is that a lot of these rounds that have been won by Heroic, clutches. Like, they had been huge plays coming out from their side, like 1v1s. There was Cadian winning 1v1.
Two of them were 1v1s on the B-bomb side.
And Barup as well. And, well, considering, as said, 6 rounds in a row, right, Risk? You're like, oh, well, Tom, if you say 6 rounds in a row, that means they got loads of money to spare. They'll be bringing in the double orbs. They'll be having all the M4s, all the utility. Ugh. It's a bit rough, isn't it?
Yeah. And they even take a time out here to decide what they want to do. I think this is a round where you just say, okay, yeah, Barbie will drop some Deagles, some P250s, we'll get maybe something going. That would be the normal answer. Once again, they decide on a weird... I'm not saying this is the wrong call. It's an interesting one. It's the same as we saw in Inferno, the round where they bought a couple of pistols around the AWP. This is the same choice. They have one player on the AWP and one player on the FAMAS. It's kind of the same setup. This is not a bad buy, but it's a very risky one.
Well, yeah, and that's the problem. Because they did so poorly in their first half, these risky rounds, normally, if you've had a 6-0 start, you'd be like, okay, they've got a good chance here. And if it doesn't work, well, it's not the end of the world.
Okay.
Here it is. Okay, Stown. That's aggressive. It's only going to be a trade, though. And, well, a trade for one of your rifles in return. It's not worth it. It's not worth it at all, unfortunately. He needed to do a little bit more.
Yeah, Cadian has to get something now. He has to be the one to rotate in and grab 1, maybe 2 frags here if they decide to go long. And once again, you can see the entire Heroic team. They know that they're at a disadvantage weapons-wise, so they have to rotate towards where they have information. They've seen something towards long. That's why they have 2 players on the side, 1 in quick rotation, and leaving only 1 on B. But the pressure's on Cadian right now. Unfortunate timing on both of them. Missed by just a couple of seconds.
Nico on the corner of the smoke. He could get something done here. He's left completely blind, but then again, so is Dontares. Oh, it's awkward, and he's going to have to reload. He's still not being killed. Cadian has found another. We've set up in a 2 versus 2. Well, make that just 1, as this time Searson does not miss his aggressive peek. We're up. He's retrieved a FAMAS. Make that an AK. But he doesn't have any armor, and he definitely doesn't have a kit. So he's going to have to just do this one very quickly if he even attempts it. Making his way through long six and actually not looking in the right direction. That'll be a freebie. And now it's left all on to Keto to save this for the Germans. And the time is ticking, though. He still has to pretty much run all the way, and Keto's just going to be waiting behind the box, just sitting there, delaying the time, and eventually he'll close out the round. Again, it's a 1 versus 1, but I think that's the first time that Big have actually won one of them.
Yeah, and this situation, I feel like he's making the correct call, the last Heroic player here. He knows it's going to be a full eco, and even if they win the round, he wins the 1v1, it's still going to be a hard buy anyway. So he has to go for it, see if he can get a round home, because Big are now on 14. And they're on a full eco now with 95% chance securing Big round number 15. So it's a tough time right now. It's a rough scenario for the Danes of Heroic.
Yeah. Putting it onto 15. Unless, well, you know, they did win a round with 1 flashbang and a CZ in the last map. You never know, Risk. You never know. Never say never.
Anything can happen. Anything can happen.
They are actually going to be rotating their stack, and with the smokes going down, they have a fair amount of information. The spam's starting to come through, but Tabson, padding those stats a little bit further. 26 kills for him. Testes does actually do a little bit of extra damage, and more importantly, and although it seems minuscule in the grand scale of things, an extra $300 is pretty much an extra grenade. So those 2 kills could actually make a big difference.
15 rounds for Big. 1 round away from a spot in the semi-final of DreamHack Open Summer 2020. Heroic will have a literal mountain to climb if they're going to have to grind this one back. But in this round, they do have all the utility, or at least some of the utility. They have the rifles they want. Testes is starting up, but he might be caught off guard. See, Testes will die off, and the rotation is far away. He was playing solo B. And yeah, it's going to be a retake B for the potential of the end of the game.
He knows he's coming. He's just waiting on the angle, and Tamsin doesn't miss those shorter shots, especially in this match. He's been playing superb in both halves, and well, now this retake is looking bleak. There's still Cadian coming in from afar, and again, there isn't a kit available to them. So they're still watching out for flanks. trying to find people behind. They're being delayed by smokes. There's still another smoke for Tabson, but he won't get the chance to use it. Garup, however, has found 2, and now it is left all on Taquito. The multi-frag merchant trying to save them, and he can't quite get the kill. It's going to be close with the defusal. Oh, that's ridiculous. Right on the end.
Wow.
Oh. Were you sweating, Risk? Were you sweating?
Yeah, I'm already sweating, but I'm sweating more now. That was insane. They are still alive, Tom. They are still alive.
Yeah, by about half a second.
Yeah, I thought Keto had that one, but eventually Big was shot out. And who will win this duel? It will be Bob. They were both very flashed. And now the
rest of the team are just barreling through short. There's actually 3 players waiting for this. All the footsteps going to be heard by Nico. Keto looking to try and find the opener. That shot's gross. Looking for a little bit more. Tabson will be alongside him, but it's down. The young Dane to try and hold on to things here. And once again, it's Keto in a clutch. A lot more time for him here. The first one goes his way. There's a player trying to look over the top of the smoke, but it isn't quite giving an angle. And he hasn't seen Tesla close, but he gets the headshot anyway. And Keto ends it. What a 4K again. This man is the 4K king. And he is going to hold on to things for Big. They had a fantastic first half of the match, but it took them a little while, but they got it over the line. 2-0, close series in the first map, but a great performance from the #1 in the world.
Yeah, we thought it was going to be the Citizen Show, but instead Keto jumped in and just took over the match all on his own.
Easy MVP.
Yeah, he's the MVP for this one. He has to be. He was the guy on the server dishing out multiple 4Ks, as you said, and Big will be moving on to the semi-final of this tournament. It's going to be great to follow. Heroic will have to go down in the pit of despair, one could almost say, in the elimination.
That's the UK team.
So that's going to be an interesting match for sure. But the world #1 remains #1 so far in the tournament.
Yeah, for sure. Well, either way, the analysts are going to have a bit of an easier time, I feel, breaking down that one after a dominant first half. Let's see what they have to say, and hopefully an interview with my favorite person, Toby, as well. You never know. We'll see.
A big performance from the big clans cements their spot in the semi-finals this weekend as they claim dust to 16-10. Unfortunately for Heroic, they will fall down into the lower bracket and into the elimination game against Endpoint later this week. But Christine, Big have gone from strength to strength in this series, and I feel like any rust that may have formed, that has been thoroughly shaken off.
Oh, it's definitely shaken off, right? And I think one of the worrying factors, I think, coming out for Big in 2020 was the fact that Tabson, he was the biggest superstar on this lineup in all of 2019. He was going to take on the in-game leadership role. Now we see him giving up the AWP, giving it over to Keto. So there was some concern. Where is he going to find the frags? But dude, Tabson looks like he's smurfing in that server in a lot of these different scenarios. So he's certainly looking really hot. I mean, so many scenarios where he was getting multi-kills with that A4. And of course, Keto, the AWP towards that mid-B area, just shutting things down. I do have to say, though, I did think that Heroic had a lot of good looks on their T side. It's unfortunate that they weren't able to convert some of those rounds because as we saw coming out from the second half, Big were starting to make very small mistakes here and there that started punishing them in big ways because Heroic were able to clutch out a lot of those different scenarios.
No, and I do think that's a really valid point to be bringing up because, you know, Heroic weren't necessarily down and out. We kind of thought it in the first half leading into the second, particularly as Big and known for having those strong T sides. But in your perspective, Alex, was there anything that Big maybe sort of slipped up on, those little mistakes that Christine was saying? Were there any points that you think Big could be improving on going forward?
Oh yeah, there's a couple of beats that I think Big has missed moving from the previous tournament after the player break. I think the level of cohesion among their players and the general just how clean they take some of the rounds has maybe fallen just a little bit. That being said, the players and the individual skills are so high right now that they can make some of those mistakes in the group stage of this tournament and still just get out fine. That being said, I think one individual that needs to step it up is Tizian. Looking at his hours for the past 2 weeks, 36 hours, and he's bottom fragging every single game that they're playing. He needs to just put in some more hours before the playoffs start. That's my biggest complaint right now for Big.
Yeah, I think that is very apt indeed. And with that noise, we have an interview. I believe it's from Hunden from the side of Heroic. Unfortunately, Big can't join us, but thank you very much for taking the time to join us, and fantastic to have you here. I want to throw it back to that first map of Inferno. You guys are obviously picked into that map, and it's a map that we don't normally see Big having much strength on. Did you kind of prepare a lot for the Big side, and do you feel like they did anything different that you weren't expecting?
Not really. Like, we tried to do our own things in the game, and we had a game plan set around Tizian because he was failing yesterday. So we tried to abuse him today, and I think it went well on the T side, and I think we should have closed it out pretty much on the T side, to be honest.
Yeah, because it was such a close loss for you guys. But I think we can kind of look at some plus points from that. You know, Big are the #1 team in the world. What are you guys kind of learning from this going forward? Because you will be facing Endpoint, obviously, in that elimination match later this week.
Yeah, I think we can take a lot away from this Inferno game. I don't think we played well on Dust 2, but on Inferno we showed we could play with the best teams in the world. So I'm proud of the boys and how we played this Inferno today.
I had a question. When you were playing against Big, you said you targeted Tizian. Are there players that you perhaps even avoid?
Nah, not really. Like, if we could get some banana control, that was pretty hard for us. We would have done some executes on B as well, but they closed down banana, so we had to focus on Tizian this game.
Now, moving on over to Dust 2, it did seem like some of those T rounds, they were so close, but then the heroics coming out of some of the individuals from Big kind of clutched things out. Was there any sort of discussion leading into Dust 2 on extra flashbangs or extra smokes to kind of isolate Keto and Searson? Because these two seem to be the biggest problem.
Yeah, we tried to do some adjustments to our T side, but it didn't work out well today. But in general, we tried to focus on ourselves on Dust 2 because it hasn't worked out that well lately. So I think Dust 2 needs some more work, and then we will match them better next time, that's for sure.
Just one final question before we let you go. I kind of want to ask a little bit more about your role within Heroic. Obviously, we saw you moving from the side of Mad Lions over to this role within this new Danish squad. Can you tell me a little bit about how that's developed and what kind of strategies you've been implementing with them?
I have tried to create more structure around the team. Kasper is he's a bit more loose than I am, so we tried to mix it up to have a more structured playstyle with some crazy moves from Kasper. So that's how we try to do the things right now.
Well, it's been fantastic.
I have one more question.
Oh, sorry.
I'm
Go
sorry,
ahead,
Freya.
No.
I have to ask you about the Lions series, the opening match. Was there anything that you said specifically to the guys, like any special counter, anything that you had like a pocket strategy that you really wanted the Heroic guys to be doing versus your old team?
Yeah, of course, but I'm not going to tell those secrets to anyone right now.
Okay. I had to ask.
Yeah, that's okay.
Well, fantastic speaking to you anyway, Hunden. Of course, you guys are not down and out just yet. We'll be seeing you later this week in the elimination match. Thank you very much for speaking to us.
Yeah. Thank you. Bye.
Thanks.
Always difficult to be doing those losers interviews, but Hunden, he is the man for the job. And I think it was interesting. He was saying that he's trying to bring a bit more structure rather to the team. I wanted to ask from your side, Alex, you know, we've been seeing a lot of Heroic in the past few months. Do you feel like that showing against Big did show some strong points for them?
Yeah, I think that their game plans throughout both maps were actually pretty good. It's just that sometimes in those mid-round kind of hectic situations where an individual from Big can make a really huge performance, those are kind of the points where Heroic need to just stay on guard. They need to be aware that when things are going badly on the side of Big, they're going to try to do something to play back at you, and you don't know what it's going to be. You don't know if it's going to be a flash play or an individual just dry peeking you, and it felt like those were a lot of the times when Big was just capitalizing the most.
Yeah, I totally agree with you there. And I feel like one name that we've brought up a lot is Tabson, of course, the in-game leader for the squad. It was interesting to read an article with him just before we headed into this tournament. You know, he was saying, oh, you want to be more surrounded by like a family kind of team. And he said he had to give up his ego a little bit. But that being said, he had some huge plays in this series. And I believe, Alex, you have a particular round that you wanted to break down.
So yeah, this is going to be a great example of just how Tabson likes to involve himself in a game such as this. Actually, this is... Wait, this is actually not my stats, Helix. This is somebody else's.
Oh, can we break this round down at all? Do you know what it is?
Yeah, sure. This is a post-plan situation that is mostly just shut down by the op of Cadian here. It's going to probably be a save. This is just an interesting round now that we have it, I guess. That is actually where Heroic decided to save into CT spawn here, despite Borup having half HP, and he pretty much knows he has to die, but he just doesn't want to give an AK up to the side of Big. And Xantares tries to swing late here, but he does get taken out by, I think, Nico. But let's see if we can get... Okay.
Yeah, we'll get a replay of it up.
Okay. So this round was a great example, though, of how Heroic, they attempted to just slow the game down for themselves. They had a 4v3 advantage, but look at Tapson right there, just at the top of middle, and then Surson here at mid finding another kill. This round was all over the place. It was really topsy-turvy, but at the end of it all, it did end up with actually Big coming out on top, and it kind of shows the game. It kind of showed the game plan of how Heroic, when they had those advantages, they knew that Big was going to try to throw something at them, so they tried to stay as a pack, stay as a unit, but somehow, some way, Big was still able to pull apart those players and make things just so uncomfortable for the side of Heroic. And Tabson, main man there, just stopping everything and finding situations, finding opportunities for his team, and pulling them in a round they really had no business in.
Yeah, picking them apart, they did indeed. And Christine, you mentioned about that double up setup that we were kind of seeing on that CT side. We did see it come into play, but actually they weren't required to do much of the heavy lifting at all. As we've been talking about, it was mostly Tabson and Xantares, which can be quite dangerous if you're the opposition.
Yeah, definitely so. And that's one of the great things about Big is that they have so many different weapons, right? You've got the Keto, you've got the Searson, but at the same time, you've got a Xantares who's always willing to get involved into the middle of the action, no matter what the circumstances are, ask for those flashbangs and create that space. So I think Big's recipe is certainly looking good. Small minor mistakes here, of course, on Dust 2, losing some anti-ecos here and there. But overall, I mean, this is Big still getting into the swing of things after this player break, and they're looking really good.
Yeah, I'd like to sort of delve into that a little bit as we look at the Group A bracket to see where that leaves us going forward. Of course, Big will be going towards that semi-final. We're going to be finding out who will be joining them as Heroic end up dropping into that lower bracket against Endpoint. It's unfortunate to see, but the caliber of competition here has been so good. And I feel like, Christine, it might be a little bit of a surprise even to see Endpoint in that lower bracket. I'm very excited to see that match.
For sure. I mean, again, we have to look back a little bit further and see the Endpoint knocked out Mad Lions, a team that just won one of the highest prize pools in 2020 at a tournament. So certainly Endpoint, they've made their statement. They're moving on forward into another elimination match versus Heroic. And I'm definitely excited to see what Thomas brings in that series.
Yeah, and of course, this isn't all the action we have for you today. We're going to be hopping over to the other side of the pond as we delve into our NA matchups from Group A. We're going to be kicking it off with an elimination game. It's going to be Zipug Gods going up against Triumph. And then later today, the match I am very excited for. It's going to be Liquid versus Chaos. Alex, what are you making of some of these teams in this bracket? I feel like it's kind of ended up how we expected to.
Yeah, more or less. Triumph still reeling off of losing Grim, who had an excellent debut showing against Zipug God, ZPG. Zipug Gods versus Triumph in that elimination match. I'm really looking out for Infinite on ZPG. I'm looking out for how Dazzle is incorporating himself into this roster. Zelsis as well. We all remember him for his stint with Cloud9. Now he's on yet another kind of mixed team from the North American side of things. And you really want to just see him prove himself. You want to see that there's a reason that he stuck around the scene as long as he did. I know that he was feeling out Valorant for a little bit there, and he was actually impressing a lot of people. A lot of different teams were looking at him potentially to round up their roster, but he stuck with Counter-Strike, and I want to see that he has a reason to do so.
Yeah, and I think on the side of Liquid as well, of course, they had their debut with Grim earlier this week, and now they're going to be having their debut with the one and only Moses coaching them. I'm very excited to see that indeed. But it's been a huge day of games to be starting off with, and we are not done with the action just yet. We're going to be hopping over to the NA side after this break, where we're going to be seeing an elimination game, no less. It's going to be Triumph taking on Zipug Gods in this next best of 3 series. It's going to mean life or death for one of these teams. don't want to miss any of the action.